tarot cards are often the first step and basis for a seeker of metaphysical knowledge, like you, to discover your forever path. That could be astrology, numerology, healing arts, or any other spiritual interest you discover along the way. Elaine Ireland is not only a teacher of tarot, she is a mentor who supports you and will be there for you. Visit www.elaineIrelandtarotmaster.com now and discover how Elaine's mentoring, tarot card and psychic readings, tarot card classes, and more help you to grow into the true being you are meant to be. Welcome to Conversations with the Ancients, where you're about to discover a whole different world than the one that, up until now, you've believed you're familiar with. World-renowned metaphysicist, practicing psychic, and tarot teacher Elaine Ireland invites you on a journey where you'll hear voices from the past, interviews with some of the greatest metaphysicians you've never heard of, because in their time, they needed to move with stealth. You'll also meet today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who will show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Be sure you visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now, hear the words of metaphysicians who blazed the trail. You're not in jail, thanks to them.
In this very special episode from Deep in the Vault, world-renowned metaphysicist, practicing psychic, and tarot teacher Elaine Ireland speaks with Julie Bradshaw about the death of a soul. It's about when a soul goes poof and ceases to exist, and is an account of an extraordinarily rare occurrence. Originally recorded as a cell phone conversation between Elaine and Julie, this conversation gives you timeless insights you'll be glad you tuned in for. Now with that, let's join Elaine and Julie.
This is Elaine, and I have Julie Bradshaw with me today. I'm excited. Excited. Oh, today is May the 24th, right? The 24th? Yeah, May 24th of 2021. And, but I saw a story that Julie shared about one of her sessions with a client, of the death of a soul. But before we get there, I want Julie to tell our people a little bit about her background, how she got started and what kind of session it was and why she does what she does. Of course. Well, I actually pretty much got started with you, Elaine. I was completely new to the metaphysical world, and our paths crossed. I had just, begun to learn a little bit, but the opportunity presented itself to attend your Tarot and Psychic Development class, and so a friend of mine and I signed up and started doing just that. I had learned a little bit about energy work at that point, and I've been doing this now for 11 years, I believe, already. Because I think we did our class in 2010, I believe is when it was. And you actually told me it was time for me to own it, hang up my shingle, and start doing sessions. And so I've been doing that for about 11 years now. And a big part of what I do, what I've developed and into and what I do is what I call multidimensional energy healing or energy work. And so a lot of what I do is clearing dark energy, challenging energy, entities, things of that sort. But also what I do, since this topic is death of a soul, I do actually do quite a bit of what I call crossing over souls that have died either violently or by suicide. And because they go to what I call kind of an in-between place where they're not fully crossed over. So I do some of that. I do a lot of cord cutting. I do some past life, work of clearing cycles and patterns and things like that. So that's and of course I read cards still every day and, do the kind of typical psychic things as well. But these are the areas that I probably do the most work on.
And specialize in.
Yeah. Yeah.
Horses have become a big part of that. How did horses become a part of that?
Horses became a part of that about 4 years ago. I hadn't had horses in over 20 years, and they were not even on my radar. And someone asked me, and I saw that she had had horses and taught lessons, and so I said, "Oh, I would love to meet your horses," and so we met where she had them boarded. And after we were done meeting her and meeting her horses, she said, "Hey, would you come over here and meet this other horse? We think you might be a good therapy horse." And I thought she was wanting to maybe do some, wanted me to do some energy work or just kind of do a reading on him. And we walked across the property, and this enormous Dutch warm blood, people who know horses, came striding towards me in his paddock. And clear as day, as he walked across that paddock, he said to me, "My home is with you." And, in that instantaneous moment of, what? What do you mean? Like, what would I do with a horse? Where would I put a horse? How would I pay for a horse? I wouldn't even, I don't even know if this horse needs a home. And, the connection between he and I was so remarkable that I did find out he needed a home. And a few weeks later, he had a home with me. And, what I discovered in my first work is more horses found me and either moved on to their next home or stayed, was that horses are very conscious animals. In ways sometimes that I think that they're even more connected than we as humans are. And they guide people with their behavior, and I interpret for them. And I do private sessions, but they are such teachers in showing us where our limiting beliefs are, how we can grow spiritually, emotionally, and even physically. And it's just a very powerful experience. And I don't know that I will ever spend another day in my life without a horse for all those reasons.
In fact, you just acquired or adopted?
I did. She is an 18.2 EN high sire, which is a draft horse. And she is remarkable. And I have a feeling she will be a tremendous addition to my program.
How much bigger is she than the others?
A lot bigger. So a hand is 4 inches, and you measure that at a horse's withers, which is their shoulder. She is 10 inches taller than my mare, and let's see, no more than that, 12 inches. She's a foot taller than my other mare, and he is a little over a foot taller than my other horse. She is enormous. The Shires hold the most records for biggest and tallest horses. So they are the biggest of horse breeds.
So I automatically go to Clydesdale, Budweiser Clydesdale.
Yes, it's comparable or even bigger. Mm-hmm.
My goodness, girl.
Mm-hmm. Yes, she is. This morning I moved where I was feeding them, and she came out of the paddocks, and I heard her trotting behind me, and I didn't even turn around. I just put my arm out and asked her to slow down, and she did. She slowed down. She waited. But when a horse that size is trotting behind you because she wants to eat, it gives you a little pause. But
yeah.
She really is very sweet, and I think she's going to be amazing, really. Yeah.
It's interesting that you had this experience with this session, and please share what you feel comfortable sharing um, about the death of the soul and what brought that session, what made that session happen.
Yeah, and I spoke with the client. She's a long-term client, and I made sure that she was okay with me sharing the story in general, and she knows that I'm always very conscious of confidentiality anyway. Um, so she is a long-term client, and she had asked me to help her daughter and son-in-law, but also to do a little clearing on their home. And the story is that her daughter and son-in-law rebuilt a house. They kind of tore it down to the studs and rebuilt it. And the house had belonged to her son-in-law and his father. And I'm going to call them. I'm just going to call them dad and son because they actually have the same name, the senior and junior. So,
Okay.
So dad had owned the property, but due to some circumstances in the family, the son had bought his mother out, and he and his wife had rebuilt the home and were giving his dad a home as well. The dad, the reason the parents got divorced, the dad was abusive. He was an alcoholic, and he had actually tried to choke his wife, and apparently after 33 years of marriage, he decided she was done. And that's how everything came about, that the son and daughter-in-law bought the house and the property. Well, the dad had also had a stroke, but was functioning and taking care of himself. He could drive to doctor's appointments and different things. So it was still very much, I would say, tormented. But at the same time, was still not a very nice person. I guess would be the easiest way of saying it. Entitled and made things very difficult in the home for the client's daughter and son-in-law. And several months before his suicide, he actually had another relative take him to a store, and he purchased a shotgun. And so they actually came home one day. The son and his son found him. He had committed suicide in his bedroom in the home that they had just built. And it was later determined that he actually wrote a suicide note and told his son, now you won't get to yell at me anymore. Something to that effect. And so again, a man, a person that had a lot of challenges and also delivered a lot of challenges. But when I go to cross someone over, for me, it is just a matter of crossing them over. I don't put judgment on the situation. I don't, it's just that it's better for everyone that soul is completely crossed over. And I've done it so many times. If it's a unexpected or violent or suicidal death, a large majority of the time they're in that in-between space. So I was looking at energy-wise the son and daughter-in-law and the home, and I wanted to make sure his dad was fully crossed over. But first I was cutting what I call cutting cords. I was cutting cords between the son, daughter-in-law, and the father. And when I did that, what I saw was cord, but not between the son, daughter-in-law, and the dad. But the cords I saw were only to a spot on the floor in the bedroom. So the cords actually went to where he committed suicide. And, when that happened, I thought, well, that's unusual. I've never seen that before. But I just sort of kept going. And then I went to look at the dad, and the soul is across him over. And when I got there, in how I see things in my mind's eye, if you will, and he wasn't there, and he wasn't anywhere. He wasn't, he wasn't crossed over completely, so he wasn't in the other dimensions that I see. He wasn't in the in-between place. And it finally, I was finally told that his soul was gone, that he had exhausted all his attempts to be different, be better, to learn from his past lives as well as this lifetime. And so therefore his soul was eliminated. And it was powerful.
Okay, eliminated, extinguished, no longer exist.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. I think, tell me if I'm wrong, we have a similar or have had similar teaching that once souls are, and this brings up, if there's a death of the soul, then how is it created? In our community, it's called being sparked. And you can say whoever you put up, whatever label you want to put on the creator of the soul. We're not here to discuss religion or beliefs or any of that. We're talking about soul.
Yeah.
So if there is a death of a soul, then there's the beginning of a soul. And I want to get kind of nitty gritty with that.
Okay.
But first of all, the death of a soul. This is the first time, which is why I got excited about this when I read your session notes. I've never heard of the death of a soul. No matter what the circumstances were, no matter how mean, how nasty, even if the soul says, I'm not doing this anymore. I've never heard of the extinguishing of a soul. I've heard of them being put in bondage, or frozen, or on a shelf, and kind of like go to your bedroom and think about this, kind of things, which brings up people like Hitler. And our belief system is every time you live a life, you learn, or people learn by observation. And okay, with that in mind, you got the information that who extinguished him? Did he just blow himself up? Which I've never heard was possible with the souls, because they have someone they have to answer to. Because it's a privilege to be sparked, like being born on whatever planet, in whatever dimension. It's a privilege because you get to learn.
Correct.
So did you get any information about who gave him permission, he fought for his being extinguished?
I don't, I'm thinking about how to answer that, because some of it is just based in my work, my knowledge, my experience, in the sense of I didn't necessarily question that at the time, who did this, but to answer that question for me is, I would say the universe, the powers that be, and so I don't necessarily, for me personally, I don't necessarily question it in that way. But at the same time, it was, as I'm kind of pondering it and also, kind of tapping into it at this point, I also see almost a group of souls that, a board, if you will, a board of directors of sorts. But I think that the comment that you made about continuing to learn, we always can continue to learn, or that, there is some place they can go to either ponder, be educated, to learn, to process. That has been my full experience as well. As someone, as a client who said, can you connect to, this person that I cared about? And, what I would, if they weren't right there, immediately, I would search for them. Have they been reincarnated? Are they somewhere that they're learning or pondering or, processing? And I have always seen it. I typically kind of narrow down where a soul is, depending on how it shows up. And so when it was very clear that his soul was just gone, it was surprising. It was shocking, but I also, after 11 years of doing this, I also really accept when something new shows up. And because I always have kind of good eyes. And so that was the information that I got and was shown.
Okay. In thinking about this, getting ready for this conversation, do you have a sense of, I don't want this to sound silly, but we know that a lot of people die every day worldwide.
Correct.
And a lot of people are born every day worldwide. And we've heard the stories about, my goodness, they are just like grandma who died 20 years ago. Just look like her, act like her, or whatever, whoever. My friend next door reminds me so much of.
And this soul is not reincarnated.
Mm-mm. Okay, let's look at soul, not just this guy, or the one who came in that walking skin this time.
Yeah.
Let's just look at soul. And let's say that an entity, spirit, council set up and said, okay, we're going to create 10 million souls, brand new souls, and we're going to put them on Earth. And the bodies will come eventually, but these souls are standing by to be born. Okay, they're born. And some die, some come back. Do you have a sense that the same souls that were originally sparks, let's say that original 10 million, 10,000, are the same ones that are being rotated continuously to learn lessons, whether they're in a female body, a male body, because it's planet Earth and that crowd set up. May not be that way on other planets and other universes, which, yes, I do believe there is life out there. So these souls are rotating into the appropriate body, the appropriate lifetimes, because this council or who else, they have given them permission to be the really bad guy. They're gonna be awful. They're gonna be 10 times worse than this gentleman was in his behavior. Or they're going to be the sweetest little people that you'd ever want to meet, or they're going to live 5 hours and then they're going to check out of here. But they do that so people can experience grief, observation, and karma's being taken care of. Yeah. With this particular gentleman, He taught people how not to behave by observation. He also was in a relationship with a female that he mistreated. What lessons, what karma did they have? Was this intentionally agreed upon before he ever came back, that this would be his lifetime, his last lifetime, because he had already learned and taught everything that he needed to do? Or was this an option given to that soul? And if so, why him? Why was he allowed to make that choice?
No, I don't think she was given a choice. To answer kind of all of that and, to really discuss it further is while I do believe, those initial 10 million are still rotating in and out, as you say, I also think that there are new souls at times as well. And the reason being is because some souls don't necessarily come back to Earth to inhabit new human bodies. They stay over, they provide assistance, guidance, teaching, all of those things. So I do think that there are new souls, and I've seen those, known when a soul was spending its first time on Earth.
Okay, now wait, I'm going to interrupt you because I think that's an important statement.
Mm-hmm.
A new soul on Earth.
Yeah.
And there are times when I've met some of my clients and they'll say, I just feel so out of sync here, which is a major word and they don't even know it, and they'll say, it's like, I feel like I just dropped out of the sky and I don't know where I am, which kind of is what happened.
It is. It really is. I've heard that several times myself. So it is, and they really do feel so completely out of sorts in this body, in this place. So I do believe that there are new souls being created, but also souls spending time, for the first time in a human body. And, with all of that in mind, no, I don't believe he was given a choice to have his soul discontinued. The idea that I got from reading the session when I was doing it was that choice was taken away from him because he truly was just not evolving at all. He was not learning. He was continuing to, cause grief, and that choice had been taken away from him.
Do you think okay, that was another question. We've got all these souls lined up on the table in front of this council, let's say. Are they all fresh, in your opinion, what you've learned? Do you think they all come out with the same innocence? And then they're given an assignment or they volunteer for an assignment? Let's go see what fear is. So their whole life, that particular first time, is lived in fear. In whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Pick a word. They're always going to be a musician, or they're never going to have musical talent. Do you think that the soul always do the same thing until they've learned everything they can learn? Or do you think that, and they can be the Bon Jovis or the Elvis Presleys or, whoever? Because I asked that, what your opinion is, because there are some musicians out there that were going, okay, that's another Stevie Ray Vaughan. That's another Elvis. That's another whoever. That's another Bon Jovi. That's another Madonna. Now, some of those people are still alive, some are not. But you hear them and you go, that's got to be so-and-so reincarnated.
Yes.
Do you believe that they're always going to be a musician, or do you think they get to be?
I think it is as varied as the soul itself. And the reason that I say that is because I see certain things in recurrent lifetime, such as, you use it. Are there people who have been musicians in multiple lifetimes? Yeah. Are there also people that maybe, were given the gift because they didn't have it, as you said, in another lifetime, or because they had done the work in past lifetimes, and this was their reward. Both the gifts and the lessons, in my experience, can change, or in some cases the lesson can remain the same, but how they experience it may show up differently. So
again, I'm going to interrupt you. I think what you just said is very important. That's a very powerful sentence.
It really is how they experience it that can change. For instance, I know that I have been a healer in multiple lifetimes, but and some of the experiences I've had have been similar, but some of them have been very, very different. And in how the lessons or gifts have shown up look differently. And some of that is just sheer evolution of Earth. Time change. You may live in a completely different place. It's why, I think some people feel, a magnetic draw to certain places around the world, even though they've never been there. And it may be because they live a different lifetime there. So it really is, can be as unique as the person. And like I said, the gifts and the lessons are just dependent on what they've learned, what they have, how they've shared their gift or not in past lifetimes. And so it is very interdependent on the soul.
So what I've learned with souls, or what I've observed with souls, is that somebody will say, I was born to do this. We both have clients that they are so perfect at what they do. You can look at a professional doctor, entertainer, you name it, and they're at the height of their career, or maybe they're just absolutely a new beginner, but they know they can't imagine doing. I've had so many clients tell me, I just can't imagine doing anything else. I've done this all my life. I was singing with a brush when I was 4.
Yeah.
You're right. So, and maybe they sound independent, but maybe they kind of look and sound like somebody else, but we don't know that at the time until they develop. That's what has often made me wonder about, does the soul do the same thing, even if it's different generations? Like Frank Sinatra won't be born again until 2050. But when he is, when that soul comes back, is it the soul that has the talent or the ability? Is it the body, or does the soul create the body with 2 people that will give them what an earth body needs to do what they, as a soul, are meant to do? That come out right?
I think so.
I think so? Okay. Because we, in our community, talk about muscle memory, soul memory, cell memory.
Yeah.
Well, does that mean that our parents have all those memories too? Or abilities? Sometimes they do. You can have somebody who plays the organ in the church, and they have children that are all musical, but they don't sing. They play the organ, maybe play the piano, but their sons, their daughters are just really, really, really good musicians all the way around. Does that mean they're going to sign contracts? Not necessarily. So if we talk about cell memory, muscle memory, soul memory, we have to look at that. Is it repetitive? Is it repetitive? Over and over and over again. And that's the only thing that soul is going to do. Like this person, this man being really mean and really aggressive this lifetime. Well, we know aggressive people.
We do.
I mean, our prisons are full of them. Does that mean that their souls are going to blow up and never come back?
Not at all.
But that soul, do you think that that's the only way that soul has ever lived life, was aggressive and mean?
Yes, that was the gist, if you will, of what I was told, was that he had done this repeatedly in some way, shape, or form, in multiple lifetimes, and clearly had not learned. I mean, the word that I heard was learned. He had not learned.
Okay, so the woman that his wife, she put herself, this is very great, that soul, to put herself in his hand in what would be considered by some cultures in a submissive relationship, to see if he had learned, like somebody told him, this is your last chance.
Mm-hmm.
You have to admire the woman that he lived with, the soul that he lived with.
Well, and what's interesting is that, that I after you and I talked about having this conversation, I spoke to my client again, as I mentioned, to make sure that she was okay. But she shared that they actually, several of the children in this family were tormented as well. So a daughter in the family, her husband, so I guess another son-in-law of the dad, had committed suicide also. And I'm trying to remember what the other situation was. It was another brother that I believe was also violent or aggressive. And so, to go down this road of, then you're bringing in other souls, and is it a, is it a DNA, where does DNA come involved? Is it a family cycle? But what, when I spoke with her and she was saying that, my intuitive hit on that was that that the core of it, the essence of it, really was with the dad, and that came to an end.
Do we know, now I'm talking from a soul point of view, and I love what you just shared. Thank you. Please go back to your client and express how appreciative I am about her giving you permission to discuss this.
On behalf of Elaine Ireland, thank you for tuning in for this very special episode of Conversations with the Ancients. Folks, please try to exchange a smile today with someone and make their day better.
Thank you for tuning into the Conversations with the Ancients, where we take you on a journey where you'll hear voices of metaphysicians from the past, as well as today's spirit mediums, healers, and others who show you a side of the paranormal you've never seen before. Remember to visit our website at conversationswiththeancients.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on Conversations with the Ancients.